And today we're talking about something that I actually have never talked about before on my Instagram page.
Which is wild to me, Sarah, because I feel like you are so good about sharing the good, bad, and the ugly of everyday allergy life that I'm like, what? You haven't shared what?
It's like my diary. But we're talking about the lunch table, the allergy lunch table at school.
Hi.
Hello.
And welcome to EpiPod. Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids.
Phew.
Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here. So your child sitting to the side while their classmates are going to be all together in an effort to keep them safe while there are allergens around.
Right. But that leaves them sort of isolated in their own little island while everybody is, it's like the only time other than recess that you get to socialize and not have to be doing an exercise or have teachers' eyes on you 100% of the time.
Yes. So we're going to talk all about that. But before we do, you have had a fantastical weekend.
Fantastical.
Tell me how it's South by Southwest here.
Yes.
Danielle is doing all of the fun activities like the dream. And, but having allergies, I mean, that has to be kind of like a tricky thing to manage, making sure you feed yourself.
I'm not doing a very good job of it, to be honest. Yes, it's still South by Southwest here in Austin, Texas. It feels like a marathon that will never end. Think like music festival level of fatigue, except it's a week and a half, almost 2 weeks with like the before parties and the after parties.
I've only ever dabbled, so I really don't know like the long haul thing. I think even before kids, I went to like a couple of events on one day, you know, because I was like, I'm not sure I want to deal with the lines and all the,
craziness,
crowds and parking and all that. But
so, I don't even have a badge. I've never had a badge, but being a content creator and working in the digital marketing space, it is, other than ACL, which I would argue strongly that this is a more important time in our industry to be out there meeting people in your space, whether it's a creator, a brand, just even local businesses, seeing different venues, how they can transform. And every brand ever has boots on the ground right now. So it's just, it's kind of like social media. It's open 24/7.
Right.
So it's really hard to say like, I'm going to go home and sleep, or I'm going to come and eat. Yeah. So with allergy life, I'm doing a really poor job of taking care of myself. I have felt pretty faint like 3 of the days where I had to like stop the car and like run into CVS and get something to eat and drink because I was like, whoa, you shouldn't be driving right now.
Yeah.
In terms of allergy life, I'm really cognizant that I need to be taking better care of myself, especially nutrition. Like I just live off of scrambled eggs.
Those are kind of hard to do on the go.
Yeah. Scrambled eggs and like
what about a hard boiled egg?
Yeah, I should do that. I just am not planning enough in advance because I'll park the car and leave it and I'll move from event to event. Sometimes I'll Uber and Lyft, but honestly, like I just prefer driving. I want the agency and I have really good parking karma. But my high since the last time we talked is I had the opportunity to go to an event today that people you just get handed gift after gift or goodie bag after goodie bag. And of course you're always grateful. But this one I was truly I was acting a fool. Like I was guffawing and I was so excited because I just knew that this was going to be so helpful for allergy life.
What was it?
It was an event with Stanley and they're launching
like the Stanley cups,
right? Like the trendy water bottle.
I was
going
to say, I'm such a late adopter. I don't even have one.
I didn't have one before today.
Look at us being outsiders. I feel like the entire world has a Stanley cup.
I know. I never got one. Yeah. And so today they invited me and I was expecting, I'll probably like go home with a water bottle or like learn about the water bottles or whatever. And I came home, I brought them to show you.
Yeah, I want to see them.
So they are launching these mid-April.
Love that.
And I was literally on Amazon last night being like, you have to be taking better care of yourself for not just South by, like when I go to music festivals, when I'm out all day for meetings, like I have this like I'm really good at being hungry, and not hangry. But then it gets to a point where I'm like, oh, like this is really not good for you.
Yes.
But living in Texas and like you can't leave things in the car. No. So I was Googling last night, like best insulated lunchbox.
Look at you manifesting.
Look at it. Okay. Yeah. So they're
for people not watching and listening.
It's a big backpack. It's
it's like a cooler backpack.
Mm-hmm, it's a cooler backpack, like you were talking about for the airplane episode.
We have the REI one, and this is a cute light pink Stanley one.
Yes, it's called Rose Quartz. These brand managers must have been so alarmed at me because I was like on the verge of tears being like, I really needed this. Like I'm going to be traveling and I needed to be able to pack my lunch. And I have this thing, it's an all day music festival. And last year I almost fainted because I didn't have food. And they were like, oh my God, what's your name again?
They're like, do you need 10 more? Like what else can we get this girl?
Yeah. So a big one. And then they also have
the
little baby.
Yeah, he's cute.
Which would be like, this would be perfect for South by.
Yay.
Okay, tell me about you. What's how's allergy life going? Tell me everything.
Let's see. Well, we have the kids home for spring break. So trying to work and do all of that is challenging. So that's just overall life. But, we're managing.
Yeah.
And treatment stuff is going well. Graham is up dosing every week. Wow. And it's pretty mind-boggling to see. I will say it's not necessarily a win. I mean, it's a win that he hasn't had any major reactions, but the outdoor allergens are starting to become a problem for him. He's really, really sensitive to pollen, and oak pollen is starting right now, and there's a few other ones. I mean, it's springtime. And so I'm noticing, and probably a lot of people will relate to this, that their allergy kiddos have these bags under their eyes. Like he pretty much constantly has them. They call them allergic shiners, or that's what some allergists say. Oh my goodness. But his always start to darken a little bit, and his eyes just look a little redder. Like we've introduced the eye drops now. Sometimes we don't do that every single day, but when he's kind of rubbing, we'll pat a day, or there's a different one. It's over the counter, but it really helps with kind of like an antihistamine for your eye. So little things like that we're kind of adding into our routine and upping the eczema protocols and things like that too. So that's kind of where we're at this week, is just trying to evaluate how do we keep that allergy load down so that we can continue to do this allergy treatment without having any sort of reaction. So that's where my brain is right now.
You are a superhero in my mind and in reality, but how do you manage it with the two of them? Like Ethan doesn't have the allergy shiners, and his allergy bucket doesn't need to be so closely monitored because he's not doing treatment. So if Ethan wants to go out, is he allowed?
He always wants to go out. Okay. Always, 100% of the time.
And then, does he go out and Graham's happy to be inside, or how does this work?
Yeah, we kind of have to divide and conquer. Like my husband and I, Mark will take one of them on the trails, take Ethan on the trails, and then Graham and I will play a board game inside, something like that. If we do, it's not that I keep him in a bubble and he can't go outside, but we, make sure to limit it, and we have to do things like take off all of his clothes when he comes back in, and wear sunglasses and a hat, which he doesn't want to do, and they annoy him, stuff like that. So it gets a little tricky, but I'm hoping that we're on SLIT, which is sublingual immunotherapy for his environmental allergens, through the same program that we're dosing his food allergens. And so I'm hoping that this being the full second year, we've done it 2 full years, that this allergy season won't be quite as bad as last. So stand by.
Stand by. Oh, wow. I'm so impressed by you and your husband.
Oh, thank you. It's always you're always learning.
Totally.
But I think that is part of it.
And what people might not understand is it's not just for you guys. It's not just we'll give him an antihistamine after he comes in, let him be a kid. You have to balance, let him be a kid with, if he does too much of this, it could make the dose go horribly, which you've experienced before.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of
for another day, but yes, that's what tipped us over last spring when he had a reaction.
Yeah.
So
it's not you are keeping him in a bubble or not. It's how are we doing this juggling act?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a good segue though, to kind of managing what we're talking about today, those decisions when it comes to things like, do I sit my kid at the quote unquote allergy table at school?
Okay, I have to ask, how come you haven't felt comfortable sharing this online? Because you share really tough things that you're conflicted on, but how come this is the one thing that you haven't ever shared with your allergy community before?
I have the pricklies on my arms.
We're proud to be supported by Abe's Muffins, a brand of delicious mini muffins, brownies, and cakes that are free from dairy, egg, peanuts, tree nuts, except coconut, soy, sesame, and pea protein. Abe's has a dedicated bakery in New York, so it's a brand we trust to be allergy friendly.
And trust is hard as a food allergy mom.
I literally don't want to try anything new ever.
But you don't have to worry about it with Abe's.
No. Look for their yummy mini muffins in chocolate chip, wild blueberry, or lemon poppy zucchini cornbread.
Graham's favorite is chocolate chip.
It's all in the bakery section at Whole Foods, or
they actually have them at HEB too.
I also saw them at Tiny Grocer. If you're in Austin, Texas, and a Tiny Grocer person, they actually have a huge allergy section there, and I screamed bloody murder because I saw Abe's Muffins, and I was with my friend Eleanor, and she was like, "Are you okay?" She came like careening around the thing, and I was like, "They have Abe's," and she was like, "What's in Abe's?"
My boys love them. It's truly a staple in our house, and to be able to trust a product like that is amazing. So yeah, thank you so much, Abe's.
Thank you so much, Abe's.
I've thought about that a little bit and tried to figure out like why have I avoided talking about it? And the thing I keep coming back to is that I think I'm not sure if I'm making the right decision. So jumping right in, Graham does sit at the allergy table. It's something that before he started kindergarten, I swore I would never do.
Okay.
I said, there's no way. Inclusion to me, while it can't it can't be more important than safety,
right?
But I will not sacrifice his overall quality of life just because of a risk. Like there's always risk mitigation things that we can do to make something possible for him to be included. And so when we started kindergarten, and I was told, look, we have this table and we would really like for him to sit there.
So wait, is he eating in his classroom, in a cafeteria? Like, what does this look like?
Yeah. So he has a cafeteria. It's kind of like an open space, but it's their cafeteria. And there are tables kind of throughout this open space. Each class generally sits together at their own class table. And then there are a few smaller tables up kind of elevated in a little section, but a whole class sits like kind of next to him, and then his table has another kid who sits there every day who also has allergies. So
in his class?
It's somebody from another class, but he does always have a buddy, although they are not friends, right? I mean, they sit together at lunch, but when you're in kindergarten, it's not like you're just chit-chatting like you and I would sitting next to a stranger. It is somebody who he doesn't really know. So
and like older maybe?
I think he's either in kindergarten or first grade. So they're relatively the same.
But still, even like I remember being in grade school and like somebody being in the other class, they might as well have like lived in Arkansas. Like
yep. It's like a different
they're
world.
one room over.
For sure.
And it's Arkansas.
Yeah. No, it's true. So he does always have somebody there. It's not like he's sitting alone. If that were the case, I do not think I would have made that decision to allow it. The other thing is I was told that, they don't have, as most public schools don't have, just endless resources, right? Totally. They don't have just people volunteering all the time to come and help be a lunch monitor or do whatever is needed in the lunchroom. And so they said it would make us feel better about keeping him safe if he were sitting somewhere where we know he is and not like mixed in with a ton of people. So I took that into consideration. Was not like the reason. It's not like they were going to say, this is what we want, so you do it. Like that was not the situation. They just kind of let me know what their preference was. And then I had a really big sit down with the teacher and I said, like, I was pretty anti this, but tell me what we can do like to make it happen in a way that is okay. And so her thoughts were, let's go ahead and make it like this, not the allergy table, but like the special table. So she very much made it kind of a big deal that you get to sit there and like, who's going to sit there today? So while, yes, it's not like they're lying to him and saying like, this, you're sitting here because you have allergies. Like, he knows that. Mm-hmm. But he gets to have one or two other kids from his class sit with him at the table.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she checks their lunch. So making sure that the school is not peanut free. Like so this has another part to it, but
I know I have 1,000 questions being like, what about this? What about that? Yeah. So tell me the parts.
But so they check his lunch, the other kid's lunch, and make sure that there are no nuts there. Mm-hmm. And then they are allowed to sit next to him. And so, he feels like, and the kids asked to sit there. So I think that he doesn't feel alone. Mm-hmm. That said, it was my promise to myself to check in with him pretty regularly and not put words or thoughts in his head. Like, are you okay? Are you sad? Are you alone? Like, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, how was lunch? Like, how's it going? Like, how do you feel about your table? Mm-hmm. And keeping my voice kind of light and
tell me about your day.
Yeah.
And what about lunch?
Yeah. Like, was Joe, that's not his name, but like, was Joe there today, or was he sick today? Mm-hmm. Just trying to see like who was sitting with you. And so that's one piece that kind of led me to feel, okay, maybe it will be okay. Mm-hmm. I will say one of the biggest things that went into my decision was his age. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he is in kindergarten.
He's 5 years old.
He's still 5. Yeah. So while he has so much maturity, probably way more than the majority of 5-year-olds, he is still a little baby. He's still 5, And so I thought to myself, maybe when he's 7 and 8 and 9, like, this would be a way harder blow socially. Mm-hmm. But right now, like, they're together all day in their classroom. They're about to go to recess. And I think for like 20 minutes sitting at the table, like, as a kindergartner, as long as he has a couple of friends, like, I think it will be okay. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of something else. That said, when age to me is such a factor, like he started school, like, I've always worked. I've always been like a working mom. Mm-hmm. And so when he started daycare as a infant, like a newborn, basically, that was a different story. Like, when he started eating, the kids started eating at a table. For a while, he was at a separate table. But mind you, this is the time, Danielle, you don't have kids yet, but like, these kids don't know what is food and what is a block or what is
they're eating,
they are eating everything. Everything is going in their mouth. It is truly disgusting, but it's scary as an allergy parent.
How do you like make sure all the toys are clean?
You don't. I mean, you just have to basically cross your fingers and, like, of course, set protocols in place, like have them wipe things a little extra, and you do all of those things. But for me, it was like, okay, this is a very risky situation that an 18-month-old and an 18-month-old aren't going to like grab the other's plate.
Totally.
They need separation. He has no idea about like inclusion and sitting. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So in that case, it was an easy, like, of course, put him away. Well, put him away. That sounds so horrible. Oh my God. Put him to the side. You know what I meant. He is not an animal. I have a human child.
It's your subconscious.
Yes,
put him away.
Put him away. But then as he got older, people were sitting at a table, and I was like, you know what? I don't love him like sitting away. Mm-hmm. So we put him at his own little high chair with his own tray. So his tray was different than like the table, mm-hmm. but he was scooted up at the table. Mm-hmm. So again, age appropriate in my view protocols to make sure that he was safe but also included. Mm-hmm. So then fast forward again to kindergarten, and this conversation is coming up, and I was like, I just think I can't do it. I'm not going to put him at an allergy table. And then I decided that I would. And mm-hmm. so I'm still, I guess I could just still feel like, was that the right decision? The other factor is it's just a nut-free table.
Yeah, I'm like, what about the dairy? What about the egg? I mean, granted, with treatment, it's different now. Totally. And you guys are more comfortable, even like with you eating eggs.
I know.
You didn't eat.
We're just frying up an egg now, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But yes, so I've always been the type that I'm like, it's not reasonable. It is reasonable to me that people don't have to bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to school. Mm-hmm. Like, I know there are special cases of kids that like there literally is only one food that they're comfortable eating. And like, that is something we should absolutely figure out as like a group of parents and teachers and all of that to make sure that every kid is able to eat their lunch and be included. Like, I support that conversation 100%. But for the most part, most kids can go all day without eating peanuts. The other...
Not even all day. It's like...
Yeah, like the time that they're in school.
Right.
But, you know, when it comes to something like milk, I mean, many of these kids have had milk every day of their life, their entire life, with every meal. And for me to be like, well, my kid has a milk allergy. They can't bring cheese, milk, anything, you know...
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I just don't think there's a reason for it either when we have figured out ways to keep him safe around those things. Now, granted, would I love to snap my fingers and have him sit at a table with none of his allergens? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But it is not reasonable to think that that can happen. Mm-hmm. So that said, that was another factor of like, then why would he sit there? Like, if we're already having to take these protocols to make sure that he's not getting spilled milk on him, then like, can't we do the same thing and make sure that there's no like spilled PB&J smeared on him?
Right.
You know, why would I separate him? So yeah, I like I said, I feel like I could go either way, and that's why I think I just haven't felt comfortable enough to talk about it. But I do think it's an important conversation to have because it's everybody's decision is going to be different, and that's also okay. But I think moving forward, I don't know. I think in first grade, where we're at in treatment, number one will play a big role. Like the fact that he is able to be around things more. I mean, he's literally eating peanut protein now as a part of treatment. So between that and just him getting older, I think I will have a conversation about reevaluating for first grade.
So when you're checking in now with him, what does he say? Like lunch was good or...
So most of the time, yes, he is a man of few words. Like he doesn't say much in general, like, you know, normal kid stuff. You ask him about their day. It was good.
Fun.
You know, yeah. Not many details coming from him. But when, you know, we're distracted talking, right? Like we're both coloring, and then his brain kind of allows him to open up more, say more. You know, he'll generally say like, yeah, it's fine. I like my table. You know, it's okay. The other day, though, this was a development probably just a month ago, where he came to me out of the blue. I had not asked him about, you know, how's lunch or, you know, and didn't have that conversation. And he came up and he said, I don't think I like to sit at that table anymore. And of course, like, heart just plummets to the floor. I'm like, oh gosh, like, what did I do? What have I been doing? Like, poor kid is upset. You know, I go to like the worst place. And he said, well, I mean, nobody's really been sitting with me. And I was like, oh, the kid, we'll call him Joe. Is that what I called him before? Not many young kids, I don't think, are named Joe anymore, but that's the name we're going with. So like, I was like, oh, is Joe not there? He's like, no, Joe was there. But, you know, I don't have anybody from my class. Like, I really would like to sit with my class. And I was like, I totally get that, bud. I think everybody would want to sit with their class. That's reasonable. Thanks for telling me that. Yeah. And I said, why? I wonder why other kids haven't been sitting there. Again, trying to lead with curiosity.
Right. And not like, people don't like you.
Right. Or anything. Because I'm truly curious.
Everybody loves peanut butter.
Right. Like, why is it happening? And he was like, I don't know. I think the teacher isn't like asking anymore. So my next move was to reach out to the teacher. Thankfully, I've developed like a really open line of communication, and we talk often, and she's lovely and wonderful and has helped so much. Like, I can't say enough about her. However, I led that email with, I know you're so busy. Like, these teachers do not get paid enough. They do not have the time in the day. They do not get the support and the resources like that they need whatsoever. So I never want to come on the attack.
Totally.
And I just said, like, I know you are so busy and have 18 kids to manage and deal with, and everybody has their things. Like, I came at her with that.
I can't imagine being a teacher.
Oh gosh, me
18
either.
kids?
Oh my gosh, and that's that he goes to a school that has fewer. It's a public school, but they have a fewer like kids in the class, like their head count or their whatever, what's the word I'm looking for? Threshold or their rules like class, for how many, class size is lower than like a general public school is here in Austin.
That is cuckoo bananas. Yeah. I haven't babysat in like a really long time, but back when I was like schlepping it in the corporate marketing world in LA, I would babysit in the evening sometimes for a few families.
Yeah.
And I would go home and I would need to like, sometimes I was like tempted to take a sick day the next day. Cause I'd be like, that 5th grader and that 3rd grader were exhausting.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
18 of them who were in 1st grade.
Kindergarten.
Yes. Even worse.
I know. I love kids so much. I love mine so much, but oof, when I tell you, I could never do. I mean, I volunteered in the classroom and volunteered as a lunch monitor, and man, oh man.
You're exhausted.
It is so much, and like mentally exhausted from like saying the same things over and over again, or from people just like trying to touch you all the time. And it's like, woo.
Teachers are saints.
They are saints.
Yeah. So you led with curiosity.
I led with curiosity again. And I also very much said, you know, again, I'm not mad, basically, is what I said. But, you know, Graham has told me that he is not getting friends at the lunch table anymore, and he hasn't for a little while. What have you forgotten to ask? Like, what can we do? What can I do to help you to make this better? Because if not, I would rather figure out ways for him to integrate into the normal class table, which, by the way, I'm probably going to do in 1st grade anyway. Mm-hmm. They have loop years, so meaning he will have the same teacher and same class for 1st grade as well, which is really cool. And then they'll kind of like reshake things up the next 2 years. But anyway, so I did kind of warn her, like, that's where I'm thinking for the next year. But she came right back and said, you're absolutely right. It has slipped my radar. Like, she's got 1,000,001 things to do. Like, asking
she's not like, who gets to sit at the special table today?
I mean, and she did for a long time, but I think it just, you know, one thing leads to another and you kind of forget. And so that's what was happening. And she said, you know, I'm so sorry. And it's back on my radar, you know? And so since then, he has had people sit at his table, and he hasn't said anything since. It's probably about like time. It's the reminder to myself to check in again. Probably after like the 1st week back to school after spring break, I'll make that a point to do, which is something I do, like a little hot tip, is setting a reminder in my phone. So something for as little as that, like not an event, not something going on, but like remind me to ask Graham about this. And it pops up, and then my memory is jogged. I mean, as a mom, working mom, podcasting mom now, you know, there's so much going on. So like, it doesn't seem like you would need to make an iPhone reminder for something like that, but it really helps me to do stuff like that. And you could even set it to like once every couple of months or whatever makes sense for that situation. But so I'll check in with him again, and we'll see and make sure that like the teacher is doing that, which I, again, very much appreciate that. Like, this is an extra thing that she has to do for my kid. So like, the other thing with teachers is I try to do not big crazy things, but like bring her a sparkling water when I stop in, or like if I know her favorite coffee order, or like I sent her a little gift card the other day. I mean, I'm talking for like $20. You could make it even less, you know, just like something to be like, I support you. I see
how much you're doing for me.
Yes. And for everybody, but yes, certainly me, like, 'cause you are doing little extra things for my kid. And so that I think is really important to make sure that they feel supported from me specifically.
So let me ask you, because a lot of people either don't have access where they live to treatment. It's just not financially something that they're able to do right now. Maybe it's just not something they're comfortable doing. If you weren't in treatment, could you see not wanting to move him to integrate when he goes to 1st grade? Like,
that's a really good question. I think the answer is kind of both. I think I would eventually still want to have that conversation about integrating to the class table. I don't know that it would be next year, right? Like, it might be, let's do one more year while he's still a little
learning,
5, 6, you know. That's wild. Then again, when he's a little bit older, we have that conversation, we figure out all that needs to happen, yeah, I mean, the thing is, he could sit there now, and I do trust that he is like a smart kid who knows about his allergens and would stand up. Even in pre-K, someone's cheese from a sandwich dropped on his leg, and he went up and told his pre-K teacher, I had cheese on my leg at 4 years old, and I need to wash it off. So, like, the kid is smart. He is aware. He understands.
Gosh, at 4 years old?
Yeah. I mean, these kids, they have to grow up. You had to grow up.
Totally. What a precious angel.
He is so sweet and so smart.
But even you can be sweet and smart like me. No.
Yes.
I mean, as a person in my 30s who's done this for decades.
Yeah.
You can still like do everything right and it not have an accident.
Right. And I'm just trying to limit that while also, again, like thinking of the external factors of like, how long is he actually sitting there? Is he with his class the rest of the time? You know, like, does he have friends there? Like, how old is he right now? You know, there's all these kind of like checklist things that I go through in my brain.
How did he get cheese on his leg if he was at the allergy table?
So in pre-K, he was not. Okay. So there were only, I mean, like 6 or 7 kids or something. So, and then there were 2 teachers. So for me, I know, it was like a little private school.
Okay.
So I think for me in that scenario, he sat at the end. That's something else you can do is like dictate a spot for them. Obviously wiping down the area. Like these are all things that
normal things
we would do in any setting. So like if he were to sit at that table, I would say, okay, either the lunch monitor or him needs to wipe his area. He needs to have a designated seat that he sits at every day. It should be on the end of the table. It should be in a place that's visible to the lunch monitor. They should know of Graham, which they do already, but like they should be keeping maybe an extra eye on him. So all of these things I think I would do first thing right away if we moved to that table tomorrow. And that's what we did in pre-K too, is made sure he kind of was not away, but just kind of a little bit separate. A little barrier to the other kids.
I'll jump in and tell you
I was just about to say, you did not sit at an allergy table.
Yeah, 90s allergy baby girly did not an EpiPen till I was 25.
That is wild to me.
Yeah. So, but I had plenty of accidents. I just had no idea it was this severe. I had nothing. Nobody knew. My parents were not educated. The doctors never told us. I was never tested. So like, I remember the first time you asked me, like, did you ever sit at an allergy table? I was like, a what?
Yeah. Excuse me?
A what?
You're like, it kind of sounds nice. What is it?
So I'll start by saying, if I were to have, I mean, all I have is a 15-pound dog that I'm obsessed with, but like, I can only imagine that times 3 bazillion if it was a human child that was my human child, that like, I feel I need to do everything to protect them and be a good steward of them. I can't imagine even sending them to school. Like, I would saran wrap it, and you can judge me, but like, you don't have to deal with the things that he has to deal with. So
Such
like,
a good point.
I'll start with that. That said, and I'm like an extremely cautious allergy person. I have extreme allergy anxiety. Now, thankfully, a therapist helped me with it. But like, I'm not like, I do have some severe allergy friends who are so loosey-goosey. Like, it's probably fine. Sometimes they tell the waiter, sometimes they don't. They feel comfortable drinking out of people's drinks. Like, oh, I'll taste some. I'm like, in what world? Like, I would never.
Right.
So I will say I'm an extremely cautious allergy person. On the spectrum, that's the side I'm on. But I never sat at an allergy table. I had one incident in all of my years of it was called Mother's Day Out. So it's like the 2-year-old class, the 3-year-old class. My mom was always a super mom, AKA a stay-at-home mom. And so I went, but I just like went for socialization, like kindergarten, all the way up to like high school. I had one incident. And I lived in a sorority house where there was like huge jars of like the mini peanut butters. Like it was in the microwaves. It was on every, I always did just fine. And I think it's in part because of the incident that did happen when I was in 2nd grade. And I learned extremely quickly, like, these are the things that you have to do to keep yourself safe. I wasn't afraid. Granted, it was because I didn't know that it was a life-threatening health condition.
Sure.
But so I'll tell you what happened. 2nd grade, we had a big cafeteria. It was like part like stage, or like where the plays were, and part cafeteria. And my friend Aisha and I were playing like some sort of like, it wasn't patty cake because we were too old for that, but it was like some like really fast, like,
I remember.
Game.
I remember the game.
The hand
What
shakes.
was the one that was like?
Handshakes.
Oh man, now I can't remember. Oh, I'll remember it
You're
later,
like,
and we're going to do the handshake.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we can learn it. Yeah.
Yes. It was something like, didn't you hit your legs and then cross over?
There's a cup version. Like there's,
I don't know if I knew the cup version.
It's in that acapella movie. What's it called?
Oh, shoot. Yes.
Perfect pitch.
Pitch perfect.
Pitch perfect.
Yes. We got it.
Yes. So things like that. Like we would finish our lunch and then we would play. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if we were done with lunch or what. Maybe we just were like mid-lunch. We were playing and I started getting itchy. Mm-hmm. And I touched my eyes and I like wouldn't have this verbiage then, but it was like, oh my gosh, I need to claw my eyeballs out. Mm-hmm. Like an itch I had never felt before. And I told the teacher and I ended up in the principal's office waiting for my mom to get out of whatever appointment she was in. This is like, gosh, what year was this? It was probably like 1997, 1998. Mm-hmm. Old school cell phones, like little more undependable, whatever. For whatever reason, she did not get the memo to come, like there is a problem with your child until it felt like an eternity. I'm sure it was just like an hour, maybe 30 minutes.
And you did not have medicine at the school, right?
No medicine.
There was no Benadryl. There was no antihistamine.
We had a first aid kit. Like I remember being given medicine, not for that.
But nothing
like,
for you specifically.
No.
Okay.
There was not even a nurse.
Right.
Like, no. And I remember going to the bathroom and scaring I went to a little Christian private school and she was it's called CE, Christian Education, mm-hmm. like a religion teacher.
Yeah.
And I startled her because I came out of the stall and she goes, and I was like, what's wrong? I must have looked like The Grudge or something because I saw myself in the mirror and my eyeballs were like the color of a Coke can red.
Yeah.
Like I looked like Reptar in, what's that? Tommy and
Angelica.
Chucky. And
Rugrats. Yes.
I was Reptar. I was like, oh my God, am I going to be okay? And she was like, I think so.
She's like, let's get you to the nurse.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah. And I think literally did not have a nurse. I was in the principal's office, like little like teacher room waiting for my mom. And I like went to go to the bathroom. And that's when that happened. And that's when I started cluing in like, oh, this isn't like you have a stomach ache and
right. Your body is responding.
I was like, you scared the heck out of Mrs. Miller. Yeah. like, what the heck? So my mom picked me up. We went to the pediatrician and he essentially was like, I think she probably got like something on her hands, like from, mm-hmm. she does obviously allergic to peanuts. We knew this already that I was allergic to peanut butter.
Right.
There's probably something on the table and she rubbed her eyes. Like, I don't know what they did for me, but he basically just told us like, you need to wash your hands before you eat kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was then that I learned like, you don't share food because you don't know what's in theirs. Mm-hmm. You don't touch your food without washing your hands first. And like, I never wiped down the area, but I don't remember when I started doing this. Like I would never let my food touch the table. Mm-hmm. I think I did share food. I was also such a picky eater. Mm-hmm. And my mom would like I didn't even eat a sandwich until I think I was like in high school.
Graham doesn't eat sandwiches either. And you know what? It's torture. So thanks a lot.
Allergies.
Yes.
Yeah. Like turkey bread, I wouldn't eat it. I was like, that's grown-up food.
Yeah.
So like I was just so picky that I wasn't eating out of other people's lunch boxes.
Right.
Two, like my mom, it was like a Michelin style like lunchbox. Like there was everything had like a colorful container. Everything was like in a star cookie cutter hearts, so like cute. Bunnies.
She was the Pinterest mom before Pinterest.
My mom is the OG Martha Stewart Pinterest amalgamation. And so I think you were talking about special table. I just was like, this is so elite. Like, why would I want whatever's in your box?
Right.
I remember like being in middle school, us all bringing like candies or like at the time, I don't remember why my friend group was obsessed with these, but they were like Philadelphia cream cheese, like cheesecakes.
Okay.
But they came like individually packaged.
I don't remember those.
It was very niche. I don't even know if they like produced them for very long, but we latched on.
Yeah.
And so we would like somebody was in charge of bringing dessert for the whole group kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Or like if you brought a cookie for your best friend, it was like, sorry, there's just enough for 2 of us. I remember that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I never felt endangered. No. And I don't know, like I don't ever want anybody to be not safe.
Right.
Safety is always the number one priority. But I think as someone who is extremely cautious, that like I look at my childhood and high school and college as just like this golden period where like I just genuinely didn't know, and I got by a lot of luck and like a prayer. Like God forbid something bad happen. I mean, it did happen, and then we learned. But I went so long, I think, just being so picky and such a germaphobe by nature that like I was okay. I can't imagine being sat at an allergy table. Like it would have been social suicide. Like I was, for better or worse, a part of like the like mean girls clique.
Yeah.
We weren't mean, but we definitely considered ourselves
the
cool.
popular
All right,
crowd.
we were popular.
Yeah,
we were the popular girls. There was like 4 or 5 of us. Sometimes there was a 5th slot. Sometimes there wasn't.
I just want to sing the Wicked song. Do you
popular?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That movie's coming out, and I'm so excited.
We all fancied ourselves Galindas. And yeah, I would have shriveled up and died if my mom was like, you have to sit away from your friends.
Do you think even in kindergarten though? I mean, when you're 5, I can totally see that, like 3rd, 4th, 5th,
I distinctly remember, like in kindergarten, I was Regina George. And then then it was like popular in 1st grade on. I was like, oh, you can't be an absolute wench to people. But no, one of my best friends to this day was a girl that I like truly tortured in kindergarten. And she'll remind me, she remembers things that I'm like, I never did that.
Girls are vicious though. When I volunteered at, as a lunch monitor, all the guys are just, the little boys are having so much fun, and the little girls are coming up in tears to a random person like me that they've never seen before, and they're like, Sally told me she's not gonna be my friend anymore. And I'm like, these girls are vicious.
Yeah, you're
man.
like, you're 5.
Yes.
No, when I was 5, I made my friend chase in front of all the girls. I said, if you don't chase, we'll call him Joe again. If you don't chase Joe and make him kiss you at recess, you're uninvited to my birthday party. And my birthday party was like the Vienna ball of kindergarten. Like my mom went all out. Like sweet 16 birthday parties, my sweet 6th birthday. Like it was wild.
Oh my gosh, you threatened her.
I threatened her. So like,
I'm so glad you're not like that now. I don't think I'd be sitting here.
No, you wouldn't be. Don't worry. I got my comeuppance in 1st grade. I got it handed back to me hard. Good. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
And now she and I are still really good friends. I talked to her on the way here. She's forgiven me, but she will not let me forget.
Yeah. So you would not, at that stage, you don't even think in kindergarten.
Oh, right. I was happy. Like, how did I get on talking about this? Kindergarten. No, Regina George would not have handled that well.
Yeah.
I mean,
and maybe it's a personality thing too, right? Like every parent has to evaluate based on their child and their personality, like what is best for them.
I think what I would have liked is if it was a special table and I was like, oh, look, Queen Danielle gets to pick her, like the court who gets to sit at her special table. Yeah. I probably would have ate that up.
Yeah. And I think that's in some ways kind of how it goes with Graham. I don't know that he gets to hand select, but I think he can kind of, like, he has the best little buddy, and he's always like, I want her to sit at my table. And the teacher, a lot of times, unless they're getting themselves into trouble, which they do, they're learning all sorts of new behaviors in kindergarten that is really fun to deal with and manage. But that was sarcasm. But yeah, so I think he kind of gets to say, and you know, she'll probably like give in and give him what he wants more times than not.
I would say, like, in 1st grade, I vividly remember like my school days. I don't know what that means psychologically, but like I genuinely cannot imagine a world where I was sitting separate from everybody.
Right.
And I was so picky that I also genuinely do not imagine much of a world where I would accidentally eat somebody's food. So down to personality again. Like there are some kids who are like, Ethan, you were like, he ate a rock.
Yes.
Like I
chalk, everything.
I was born a 35-year-old woman. Yeah. Like I'm still catching up to my age. So I think that was a big part of it. but like to bring it all into like,
wrap it up with a bow.
Yeah. To wrap it up with a bow. I'm really grateful that I never was separated, because it taught me, although once was through the hard way that landed me in the doctor's office, like it really taught me like, this is how you're different and your body works different than other bodies. This is what you have to do to keep yourself safe. And also like, even as an adult who's like battling anxiety, whether it's like being on an airplane or like my cousin coming over and having like peanut sauce dressing on an Asian salad. I'm like, why did you bring that to my apartment? Like, get the heck out. You have to eat on the balcony. Actually, not even on the balcony. You have to eat downstairs in the lobby, and you have to, I don't know.
Fully bathe.
Go get your teeth cleaned by a dentist before you come back. Yeah. Like, that's how I am now. But then I look back at all those years in the lunchroom, all those years traveling, all those years college, and I know, like, you always handled it. Yep. You are always okay.
You figured it out.
And you have a doctor who tells you what is and isn't okay. And somebody eating nuts next to you, while it may give you a lot of anxiety, you're going to be okay. Yeah. So I honestly as an adult, I lean on like childhood memories of being like, you were always okay. Yeah. You're going to be okay. Yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
My parents, like, God bless them. They didn't know any better. They had trail mix, like, on our coffee table my entire childhood, all growing up. Yeah. Like, they ate nuts. They made food with nuts for dinner. I had a different dinner. So, like, even now when I go home, I'm like, what the heck is that trail mix doing there? And my mom's like, the bowl that's been there since you were 6 months old? Right. What do you mean what the cashews are doing there? Like,
see, that gives me nightmares. But again, because I have little boys who get into literally everything, you were probably like a little princess and didn't do that. But like, I mean, my boys, no way, no thank you. That would be a hard no for me.
Yeah, no, totally. No, like there are things that were normal in my childhood that now I have to sit them down and be like, for me to feel comfortable coming home here and being in my childhood bedroom for a week visiting you guys. Yeah. I don't care that this is how it was in my childhood. I am not comfortable with that anymore. Yeah. I don't want to be in a state of fight or flight, worried what the dog is going to pick up off the floor and then lick me. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Can you just move it away? Right. Yes, we can. So, yeah, I never was separated, and I'm glad for it.
That's really good information to have. And I think, again, goes to the bucket of evaluation that every parent has to make, is like hearing somebody like you say that, looking at all the other factors that we've already mentioned, and then making and coming to a decision that you feel good about. That said, like I said in the very beginning, I do feel good about the decision we've made, but it was a very, very hard one to make.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like, okay, let's pretend I am my own mother, and let's pretend that I'm not a 90s baby, like I'm a current allergy kid. And maybe I'm not so picky. Like, I genuinely think I stayed safe for so long because I was so picky. Yeah. But let's say I wasn't. Let's say I'm a more adventurous eater, or I'm less careful. I'm less 35-year-old in a 5-year-old's body. If I were my own mother, I would be like, okay, the school, like, they have liability in this. Yeah. Like, they want to keep you safe because it's them who's the caretaker at the moment. So, like, all right, let's respect everybody's wishes. What would make her feel not othered and not whatever? She wants to eat lunch like she does every single day with Caroline and Jen, her two best friends. And Caroline and Jen's parents know she spends the night at their house all the time. They will not be sending Caroline and Jen with any nut. Yeah. They know how to be around Danielle when I'm not. Caroline and Jen and Danielle are going to sit at this table together every single day. And it's not the allergy table. It's just their table. Yeah. I could see that being, wow, don't give 6th grade me that much power. But that would have been like a go-between. Like, it doesn't need to be every person, just like our allergies, every body is different. Every family and child's personality and what they're comfortable with as their parent is going to be different. So it's just figuring out like, all right, what am I working with here? What is in the best interest of safety, but also letting them be a kid. Totally. And like also balancing the school's liability. All right, great. How do we make something that isn't othering them? Yeah. And it doesn't need to be allergy table, and it doesn't need to be like wish upon a lucky star like Danielle's childhood was. It can be something in between.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's every allergy situation feels really nuanced and like individual.
Nuanced.
And there is no necessarily wrong way to do it. But I do think that, again, not letting like fear guide your decision, but also taking into account all those different factors that you and I just kind of went through. And talking to your child too, you know, again, not putting words in their mouth, but just in general being like, hey, are you good to sit at this table? It's probably going to be a good thing to keep you safe, and you'll be able to have a bunch of friends at the table. So why don't we try it? And then you can let me know. Totally. And, you know, even doing it that way, I think would be a really good option.
Yeah. I also think like, just even though like every scenario is going to be different and every comfort level and every allergy level is going to be so different, like just hearing your story, I'm like, that is just so valuable to me. Like hearing your perspective and what you feel comfortable with. Like it's
same for you. I'm living it.
Yeah. I'm not even a child, I'm not even a school age child. I don't have one. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just feel...
Well, hearing other people's thought processes, I think, like it always helps me. So, yeah. I would be really interested to hear what other people have done. So if you're listening, head to our Instagram page too, because I'd love to hear like how you made your decision. Where does your kid sit? And if you have any questions, maybe if we talk about this again, we can kind of go through some of those questions.
Yeah, definitely comment on our most recent post and tell us what you're comfortable with, or if you have found a solution that we haven't thrown out there. Yeah. That could be helpful for others.
It could help other people for sure. Everybody's situation is so different.
Totally.
But this was great.
I have a question actually, about the wipes that you mentioned.
Oh, right. Yes.
Is that, I could totally see like, if I used to like travel with like wet ones and hand sanitizer, like I was such a germaphobe, especially in middle school. I don't know what happened, but I was such a germaphobe, still am. I could totally see being like, all right, napkin, utensil, food, peanut wipe.
The peanut wipes. So it's called Well2 wipes, and they are specifically engineered and scientifically tested. I'm probably using the wrong words there, but they have done independent lab testing to show that using these wipes in the way that they say to on the back can remove, I think they say 99.9% of peanut protein. So they haven't tested it for other nuts or other allergens in general, but they do take away the peanut protein from the table. So I think that would be a great option
for an older child.
Yes, to be able to have that agency for them to, hey, I'm going to carry this in my lunch every day, or at least a wet one, like you said, like, and wipe the table before they sit down and start eating.
I could see second grade Danielle, who had just landed herself at the pediatrician's and as Reptar, my mom being like, here, like you're going to carry these wipes.
Yep.
It was on the table. So you're going to wipe down your place, we'll go wash your hands.
Yep.
And that won't happen again.
Yeah. Yeah. And they actually are giving us, or our listeners, 20% off. So if you want to try those out and check them out, we'll list a link to the wipes in show notes. So when you go to the episode and there's kind of a description there, you'll be able to kind of click to that. And if you use EpiPod 20, you'll get 20% off of a box of those wipes. Cool. So Well2 wipes, we'll have all the information listed.
Yeah. I could see like third grade Graham being like, this is just a part of his protocol.
Yep. No, I think, I really want them to either make them in a way that they get rid of all the allergens, or like make me another wipe. He can wipe it 3 times. That's fine. We can do that. But I mean, it is really, it's a little peace of mind thing.
Totally.
If you know, like, okay, I can at least take away one of the allergens.
Totally. Yeah. I'm happy with my wet one. Like, that's how I do it. The airplane.
Yes.
We gotta go. Yeah, you have to go prep dinner for the boys.
Yes.
I've got to go take a nap.
Oh my gosh, you little stink, man. Oh my gosh.
I have to walk my dog and then take a nap.
Okay. Oh gosh, sounds horrible.
This is why I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, maybe you should not. Maybe you should like not take a nap and go to bed at 9:30. I know. Does that just sound horrible to you, going to bed at 9:30?
I can't imagine what world I would do that in.
Okay, well, you have to nap. I have to go for the 1 millionth time figure out what to feed my gremlins at home that I love with all of my very big heart. And we'll catch you next time around.
Thank you so much to our sponsor, Abe's Muffins.
Yes, it is a staple in our household, and we really appreciate the support of this podcast.
Yeah. Leave a review if you are finding this helpful, if you are finding this valuable.
Yes.
We are going to be staying afloat. Apparently, the podcast algorithm gods say that reviews are king. So please leave a review.
And subscribe.
Yes, send us any sort of questions you have. We went long again today, but in the future, we will be answering a question or two at the end of every episode from you all.
We're going to make it a point.
Yep. So EpiPodPodcast@gmail.com. Send in any questions for us. Next week, we will be diving into all things treatment. We talk about treatment a lot, like, oh, grandma's at this point of her treatment, or I'm like, oh, treatment was really bad for me this past week. Like I'm in a hole.
Yes, but we haven't really gone in depth about what those treatment programs are. And I think that's something of interest to a lot of people because everybody is looking for a way to make life easier.
Totally. I also think what I wish I had known before I started treatment as an adult.
Absolutely.
I think my number one asked question from adult allergy girlies and boys and too, it's just like, wow, like I can't believe you're an adult in treatment. I was told by XYZ allergist that that's not possible. Yeah. And I'm like, it's a wild, wild west.
Hello, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll go into that next week.
Yes, and I'll be sure to talk about all the intricacies of Graham's treatment and kind of what we're looking for possibly for Ethan as well with his little sunflower allergy. I say little because it's just one, and compared to Graham's long list, it feels like a little thing, but it's a big deal too.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm excited. Yeah, I want to hear more about where you're at currently too. I know you're on the fence on things, but we'll save that for later.
We'll save that for later. Okay, see you next week.
See you next week.